Good afternoon and welcome. We are finally live. It's Podcone. My name is Falcone, or Dan. I'm your host. Apologies for the lateness there. We just had a couple technical issues, but we are back. We're ready to go. Toby, the Sergeant Johnson to my Master Chief.
Oh, that was a good one.
The Doctor Who to my Torchwood.
Let's go one each week, shall we? Let's go with just,
we don't want to waste them.
No,
Okay.
No.
Yeah, you want to.
All right.
How are you doing today, Toby?
I'm good. I know what the ladies like. Sergeant Johnson.
Excellent. That's the
Okay.
intro. That's the intro you wanted. Okay, moving on to our more important guest this week.
Sorry.
Huh?
Ed, I'm on a podcast.
You don't want a podcast? I guess you two are just here for show. Oh no, you got
Sorry, Ed had to make a cameo.
Ed, I want to see Ed. All right, well, we've had Ed making a cameo. Now
Sorry,
for our
guys.
actual guests.
The intro we wanted.
Well,
Dad.
the intro we deserved, not
But
necessarily
not the
we
intro
wanted.
we wanted.
Josh, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Josh. I'm from Concrete Donkey. And I've got this really cool Stranger Things mug today. Look, it's my favorite. That's my introduction.
Brilliant. And Dieter.
Hi, I'm Dino. I'm also from Concrete Donkey. We are two of the three members of Concrete Donkey. And I think one of us is in the chat. So
Should we get some
Hi.
Hopefully we got George. Big up George.
get some love for
CD
George in the
Tasman.
chat? Woo! Brilliant. Well, yeah, obviously this is Falcone. Are we up? Falcone? No, this is Podcone. I'm Falcone. This is Podcone. This is going so well so far. This is our weekly podcast. It's live every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. British Summer Time on Twitch, twitch.tv/Falcone hosts. So if you're watching live, hello everyone in Twitch chat. If you're not watching live, welcome. You may be watching on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, any of the podcasting apps. But just to let you all know, you can watch live or you can watch on demand if you miss any of it. Today, I'm going to be talking to my good friends Toby, Josh, and Dieter about university because we all went to the same university. It was called Ravensbourne. It was in Greenwich, London. Outed us. And Toby, you know, when I did the announcement the other day, and I said we're going to be talking about university, Ravensbourne, I put it on Twitter. A couple of viewers were in my Discord saying, "Oh my goodness, did Dan just out what university Toby went to? Toby doesn't even talk about that."
I don't.
You do now.
But I do now. I mean, it's not a big secret what university we went to or anything. They would be proud. I think they would be proud of the flawlessness of how this podcast opened. I think we can anytime it goes wrong, we can go, "Oh, we learned that at Ravensbourne," and then every time it goes right, that was self-taught.
Do you know it's okay?
Are they
Because Ed
in
also
chat?
went to rave, so I can say, well, this is all just rave's doing. Like we're innocent, right?
I gotta say that was a flawless start, though. Josh, I'm in a podcast. I'm in a podcast right now. It was just beautiful. But yeah, we went to
It could have been
Ravensbourne.
better if it was my mum. That's all I'm saying. My
Mum,
mum
I'm not now. I'm doing the internet. It's a real job, Mum.
I swear.
Tell Dad I'll pay rent later. Yeah, I'd love a coffee. Thanks.
And that's funny, actually. Because that actually segues me nicely into talking about the real job part. Because so Josh and Toby and I were actually all on the same course. We studied digital film production. And this seemed like a really good course for us because the point of the course is that it is sort of film, but it's sort of film for a futuristic age. It's film for online places and advertising. And I remember one of our lecturers giving us a speech in one of our first lessons and saying how, in the future, in 10 years, imagine when you're out and about being a tourist, on every tabletop there'll be a screen. Everywhere you go there's going to be some sort of screen, and they want us to be able to make the media for these screens and to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all very inspirational. However, do you think, and so this question specifically being aimed at Toby and Josh specifically, do you think YouTube was what they had in mind with our course? Because it feels very much like it should have been, but I'm not sure.
I like to think it was YouTube.
I think it felt more aimed at maybe something more like Netflix, more Hulu, something more traditional.
Vimeo.
Maybe Vimeo. Something more traditional even within the online space, I think YouTube, because the content on YouTube and Twitch, and it's so experimental, and I think they were transitioning from we've done film courses for years to how do we bring that online, and there's you're still going through the more traditional stuff like Netflix, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is, I completely agree. I think it's what they were pushing us towards, rather than YouTube and Twitch, which I would argue is where the future actually is. Or well, Twitch maybe more so than YouTube.
I'm gonna get a little bit more into the Twitch side of things later. I'm not gonna name and shame, but I am gonna point out where I think things were bad with my university and my course and certain lecturers. But very specifically, again, I'm not gonna name and shame, but very specifically, I know as a fact, Twitch is not something that they were excited about. And I know as a fact that, or I'm almost certain that, again, for some of the lecturers, I know that YouTube wasn't necessarily something they were excited about.
Oh, I know.
And this and I'm hoping that we were going to get into this, Toby. I didn't want to. I should have spoken to you about this before. I didn't want to just drop you in it, but I do.
No,
I want to hear this
totally.
story.
I want to.
But let's get into that a little bit later. Dieter, what did you do at Ravensbourne?
So I did music production for media. So I noticed you were like talking about like film for the digital age and stuff like that. So my course was sort of aimed towards, I guess, that, but in a music sense. So it was stuff like a lot of advertising, a lot of like film, TV work, stuff like that, and just general music production skills. And not much actual sort of music theory. There was very basic stuff on that, but I'm pretty sure like 90% of the course, we were a very small course, probably about 15 people.
Right.
90% of the course had a basic to advanced sort of music theory knowledge. So yeah, they didn't really touch on that. But so yeah, just I suppose what they're trying to do is get that whole university working together as a production department.
Yeah,
so, like,
absolutely. I mean, there were other.
That's always a dream.
There were other courses. There was an editing and post production course. There were photography courses, fashion courses. That was kind of what our university was about. It was all of the artsy areas. And I think we should probably drop a disclaimer now and say that we all left university. What is it now? 3 years ago? 4 years ago? Something crazy like that. How old are we? Yeah.
Don't say that. That's awful.
Either way, we left university a long time ago.
4.
And the stories that we have and the things that we say don't necessarily reflect the university now. I know that there have been staff changes since we were there. I know that
There were staff changes literally after we left.
yeah, in fact, the people that I'm going to be complaining about, I'm certain they don't work there anymore. So it's not like, I'm not trying to throw shade on the university. I think that what Ravensbourne tries to achieve is very, very good, and if done correctly, it could be huge for anyone looking into the future of online media.
And nor was it all bad. We definitely had lecturers who were fantastic.
Yes.
And we had lecturers who really had our backs as well. And, there were definitely good things there as well, and provided with a lot of opportunities. But yes.
You say that, but like our head of course got fired.
Do you know what?
What?
Do you know what for?
Because he was just terrible. We got a new. So I feel terrible because the head of course we had for third year. So first 2 years of uni, we had this leader, and then he got asked to leave, forcefully asked to leave. And the woman who took over, her name, I've forgotten her name, but she was fantastic. Like, she knew everything. She knew the industry, she knew music, and she was really engaging. Whereas he just was a bit, I don't want to say like terrible, but he just wasn't as clued up. Especially when it came to like a lot of the stuff we were trying to do and trying to get into.
That's funny because our course lead took a year off for our second year and then came back and wasn't super inspirational.
Did he ever come back?
Oh, he came back. He came back to make lives miserable, believe me. No, I'm being a little bit harsh here. So university in general is like, it's the next step of your education, right? So you do school, and then you go from school to college. And I guess the idea is that, especially if you're pursuing something like music or film, the idea is that you do it step by step. So you go from school to college. Maybe you do is it a foundation degree? Is that what it's called? the thing you can do after college, before university, and then you go to university, continue the same subject. With Toby and I for film, neither of us had studied film properly at school or college. We had
But what about two geeks and an objection?
well, this is it, right? We had
That was a
our
brilliant film.
hobby, and that's what it was. Everything was self-taught, and that's I guess why we got accepted into university, because we were able to show some of our best work, and they're like, oh yeah, you've got something here. But what we lacked, at least,
That's a low bar. My goodness.
but what we lacked was any of the actual theory. Like, I didn't know what the words meant. I didn't know what overexposed meant when I went to university. I just knew if a shot looks too bright, it's probably not good. And obviously, this is the kind of and the thing is, for me, there was a certain level of expected knowledge, I think, when we started the course, that I personally didn't have. I did maths, philosophy, economics, and English literature at college. I couldn't be further from film production, right? And suddenly, I'm in this room where about half of the room, and there are like 90 people in our course, unlike Dieter's. Ours was pretty big. Half the room were like really camera guys, and they knew what this camera was and what this lens was and what that meant, and they were off making stuff already. And then there was the other half of the room. Maybe half isn't quite right, but a lot of us that I know that Toby and myself found ourselves in, that we really didn't know that much, and we were kind of struggling to keep up.
I mean, our friend group was the lame guys, right? You know, like, I mean, that says all you need to know about us.
There were definitely people who came in better equipped, and I was in a weird place with the interviews at the beginning because Ravensbourne had, at the time that we applied, I think a bit of a reputation. Did you guys get this? Like, it had a reputation as like, this is the industry place, that if you want to get into the industry, then you must go to the industry, university.
It was Hogwarts, but for media, right? That's what they wanted to pitch themselves.
And like, I know that the year before, because we got in 2013, I think 2012, they had like lots of students doing stuff for the Olympics, and they had students constantly doing work. They had a really great reputation, probably still do. And I'm sure they still will have after this podcast. I'm sure it's fine. But
tear them down.
That was not the intention of this.
The insider thing. No, but they, they kind of had this reputation, and I was not initially at Ravensbourne. I was actually at a different university. I'm the year above Dan, and the year above you guys, I think, in school. And then I kind of followed along. Dan was like, I'm doing this Ravensbourne thing. I was like, yeah, it sounds like a laugh. He's like, it's a proper university. Like, you can't, the applications are closed to me. Now, give him a ring. All right. Hi, can I have an interview? Yeah, all right. Just send us some videos. Great, here's some YouTube links. Great, video interview. And in the video interview, they even said, look, this course is meant for 90 people. Why should you be the 120-something? And I went, okay. I gave them, spin an answer, and, it sounds like you're in.
It's an odd one.
You're saying that to a lot of people.
It's an odd one, because in all of the open evenings and everything, all of the open days or everything, I was definitely given this distinct impression, it is hard to get into this place. And it was the one I wanted to go to. The weird thing as well is that you didn't need to have good grades at college to get in. Like, it was.
That's a selling point, wasn't it?
Well, it was all based on the interview. It was all based on the interview. They were like, it's going to be a hard interview, but if you get in the interview, you don't need amazing college grades to get in. And so once you kind of get in, it did kind of take the pressure off a little bit, to be honest, because I was accepted the day I went to the interview. He basically told me, look, you're in. You've done really well, and I was surprised then. But then it was literally months after the whole applying to university process had ended, that Toby started to look into this. It was way after anyone should be getting, and that's why I was like, look, there's no way you're gonna get it. You're months late for this. And he just like rolled up and literally this way. I joke that I was stalked to university by Toby. and just to say about the getting in thing, not to call anyone out for anything, but somebody in, that's why I'm not saying the name, somebody in the chat has just said, can confirm, got rejected from Ravensbourne, though it sounds like that wasn't a bad thing now. I don't know. Maybe you'd have loved it. I think it's a matter of perspective.
What's interesting is the next year, I knew people who were coming from our same colleges and stuff who were applying to it, who really struggled to get in. And I think it was maybe you said, or one of the lecturers said something to the effect of, Yeah, we let too many people in last year. So this year, if I see an overexposed shot in the
That's
show
right.
reels or
That's right.
anything,
I was on
out.
a trip to Paris. I think Josh. I think you were on that trip with me.
I didn't get to go.
Oh, you didn't go on that one. You weren't. My apologies.
No.
I was on this trip and I was eating dinner, and one of my lecturers was on the table with me, and he was talking about, oh yeah, as soon as I get back to the it was Barry. It was a lecturer. His name was Barry. I'm not saying much about this lecturer as it's not like a call out. And he was saying, yeah, as soon as I get back to university, I'm back to doing interviews again. I was like, oh, is it hard to get in this year? He's like, yeah, I'm turning way more people down than I'm letting in. Like, as soon as I see an overexposed shot, they're out. And I'm there like, how the heck did I get in?
Right.
Thing is, like, personally, I originally was planning to go to Goldsmiths because they've got a really nice, really good music course. And they gave me an offer, but I got one grade that was a lot worse than the others. And they turned me down. So I was like in a panic. I'm like, shit, I'm not going to uni. Called up Ravensbourne, and then they were like, oh yeah, come in for a little interview. I played them some of the stuff I was doing, and they were like, yeah, it's just straight in. And I was like, cool.
Great.
Can I just say I had like the same kind of experience. I was like this close to going to Lincoln, and then last second I was going up for summer in the city up to London, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna swing by Ravensbourne. Why not? Let's just pop in, see what happens. Had a little chat, and I wooed the tutor with my knowledge of Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and other comedians. That should be enough for you guys to know which lecturer I'm referring to. And he was like, yeah, you can come on. And I'm like, woo.
I was
like,
go on then.
I remember.
Yeah, it's like he stuck me in the back door. But since I'm stuck everyone
go
in the back
on
door.
then.
I remember specifically in my interview being asked a question that I had no idea what to answer with. He asked me, what do you think is the biggest problem with the film industry today? And as someone that has literally no prior training on film whatsoever, I came up with the biggest load of BS that I could think of. And no, I'm not using BS to stand for Brawl Stars here. The biggest load of BS that I could think of. And now I just said money, and then started talking about how there should be more money in the industry for this. And it worked. It was lucky.
Clearly.
But like,
Nice.
but yeah, so that's kind of a little bit about the process to get. So Dita, you found getting in was very, very easy, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, because I was working in the industry before I went to university.
What's your background with music?
So I have been sort of writing and composing music for television.
Okay.
And that's sort of that's where I started, and I was producing as well with this big music company, and I mentioned that in my interview, and they all of a sudden they were like, yeah, sweet, just come in, because I think now they were quite a big company now then, but now they're massive. I think they're the leading guys in the field, like. Mm-hmm. And that I think that just sort of just got me in the door.
Well, at the end of the day, I guess we all got in. So as much as we've heard stories of it being difficult, once we got in the door, suddenly I found that one of the lecturers that was very inspiring in the open days and stuff was actually very boring. And by about the fourth day of university, of like lectures, I realized that he was telling the same stories over and over and over again.
Yeah.
The same hour-long stories.
Can we have a fake name? Can we give him a fake
Johnny.
Huh?
Just Johnny.
Johnny. So Johnny was one of these larger-than-life characters who had lots of stories, and you're thinking, oh man, university's gonna be such a fun experience because he's just gonna, chat with us, and it's gonna be like mates in a big auditorium, and we're all gonna laugh. And suddenly you realize that you're turning up at kind of 10 a.m. 9 a.m. Your laptop's open, ready to learn. PowerPoint's not quite ready. Registers sort of, are we on paper today?
Oh, that was so funny. The registration system. I'm sorry, can we just take a minute?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this has probably changed dramatically now. I would hope so. With years. But like, we were a paperless university. What part of the appeal of it was, we were friendly to the environment. You wouldn't find any paper. Everyone used a laptop. And that was our notebook for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously registration done. The easiest thing in the world. You do this I had this at secondary school. The teacher would read a list on their laptop, even back when we were at school. We read a list of names. Yes, here. And this was a whole thing at university that that shouldn't have been an issue, where like one day the computer system would be working and it was fine, and then the next day it wouldn't be, and we all had to sign a signature on the door on the way in, and then the next day the online system would be working again, and then at the end of the lecture, oh wait, it turns out it's crashed, we've lost all our data, can you just all write down if you were here or not? And it was just, and this was like every day.
And it's important because if you don't turn up to university in the UK, you're not supposed to get your student loans and your finances. I think if you don't attend a certain amount of classes, the government isn't supposed to give you that money. The university isn't supposed to kind of have you on board. They're supposed to kick you out. And it was literally like those first few lectures, much like with, Johnny Bravo, you would
Johnny
kind
Bravo.
of, you would... You is that a cartoon character? Is that who it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Johnny Test you could use as well. Someone said
Yeah. Well, with Johnny Bravo, just like with that, it was like this false kind of promise of excitement and modernism and hip, this is a cool uni. And very quickly it went to, all right, that lecturer's not here and the machine isn't working. And do you know what? I'm sure you've all got stuff you could be doing. Like, go get on with it. Or when he was in the class, he would tell us a story, usually kind of inappropriate in some way. And you'd go, I would love to sit here and listen to the story about how you were conceived. It sounds fascinating, but I am paying and I would like to get my degree.
We heard
That
many
would be
times
cool.
about his friend that worked in the porn industry and why
Yes.
and how his friend had made better career decisions than he had. And it's anyway.
On reflection, it
Fair
is
play.
a guy at the front of a room of students going, don't make the same mistakes I did, kids. I should have worked in the porn industry.
Should have done porn.
My mates did, and they're all rolling in money.
Oh my
That's
God.
just it.
So actually, one of the lecturers I had at university, he was in quite a big '80s band. It's you could probably get just he was in. And
Okay.
I
Like,
found
you
this
trying to
out.
be-
I was like, no, you don't know what member. It could be any. Anyway, I found this out. Oh my God. I listened to Brother Beyond non-stop. They were brilliant. But this guy, you'd go in for a lesson, right? And he would not stop talking about how he was on like tour with like Jeff Beck and stuff and all these other people. And we'd be like, man, these are really cool stories. And then like, you're 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, you're like, can we learn something now?
Yeah. So we're over this.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
again,
fun
some of the
stories.
lecturers. Well, some of the lecturers were fantastic, right? I gotta say, some of them were absolutely brilliant. The ones that we probably would name, but
But again, we're not going to
But
just
yeah.
because it would be
Yeah.
like another way of calling out others. But there were two for our course at least that spring to mind for me of being
Yeah.
utterly fantastic and inspirational, and yeah, just really great. And now that kind of brings me to my next question, which is how much of so we're all, I mean, we're not working. Actually, Dieter, do you still produce music for
Yeah.
professionally? Oh, you still do that.
What was that song you worked on, Dieter?
It's Hearts by Naomi Banks. You can get it
Hearts
on
by Naomi
Spotify,
Banks.
iTunes.
Oh, no way.
Tidal, Apple Music, all of them.
So
Sorry,
Actually,
we have
so
we
thing is, I before uni, I was doing lots of like TV music, and then like I did some during uni, and but now I'm really trying to get into sort of like radio, like pop music. I'm working with a record label in like West London and stuff like that. So, and Naomi Banks is sort of my favorite artist because I write and produce pretty much everything with her. So
wow.
go check her out.
That's cool, man.
It's a running gag on our stream.
Yeah,
that
no,
Dieter
yeah, just to
plugs
explain,
Hearts by Naomi Banks at every given possible moment. So I saw the opportunity and I couldn't turn it down.
Oh,
Um,
chat's loving it.
Chat's having it. That's the important.
So, but you were already producing music before you went to Ravensbourne. Would you say that your university experience helped you? Did it teach you? Did it help you get to where you are today professionally?
Well, funny thing is, so I got I sort of met the owner of this company, and you know he like me. He was sort of like he was trying to get younger people on board because everyone he had writing was sort of like older, probably like in their 40s, 30s or whatever. So he was looking to get younger people. I think I just turned 18 at the time. Anyway, so I was working with him. He was like, where was I going with this? I completely lost it. Anyway, Oh yeah. So I went to Ravensbourne, and one of the lecturers was actually he actually used to work for the owner of this company. And I said, "Oh, look, how do you know each other?" And he said, "Oh, look, he's a bit of an asshole. You know, I don't like him. So this is my university lecturer I'm talking about. He's like, oh, I don't like that guy's company. I think he's an asshole. Oh, God, I shouldn't swear. Anyway,
That's all right. That one's forgivable. That one's fine.
Okay. He's a bad person. So, I went and asked the owner of this company. I said, "Look, do you know this name?" And he went, "Yeah, I remember that name. I had to fire him."
Oh.
And I was like, "Very interesting. That's why he's been so vocal about how much he hates that company."
Right.
It's because the owner fired him.
Well, there you go.
But okay, so then again, he was a good lecturer, but they disagreed quite a lot.
Okay.
It sounds like it.
But what is now having been through the course? Do you feel like your professional career has been enriched by your course?
Well, the thing is, all the lecturers didn't like that company because they changed a lot of how the industry ran in regards to like TV music and stuff like that.
So are you saying that basically your connection to Ravensbourne actually hindered your work experience?
Hindered. Because weird people. Like, there was a whole lecture on how that this business model was ruining the industry, and I'm sitting there like tucked away in the back corner of the room, like don't say a word. And then like a few people just turn back and like look at me occasionally. Just I'm like, oh, this is horrible. So yeah, nothing. It didn't really help me, but I suppose that's quite a unique situation.
Well,
you know.
I don't know. Again, can't speak to your course anymore. You're the only example that I have. But now I want to talk about our course, the film production course. And Josh, are you doing anything with our course professionally right now outside of Concrete Donkey, or is Concrete Donkey your closest?
No, I've been teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I teach TV and film, which is something which I haven't done since lockdown, but it was something I was doing, which I generally really enjoy doing. I find it very rewarding teaching.
Of course.
The youth of today to become inspiring them and helping them follow their passions and stuff. So I mean, like that is me. I'm literally taking stuff I've learned. Thank you, Dieter. I can see the cameras. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, no, I really enjoy doing that, and like I find that it's like one of my if I say one thing Ravensbourne's done at least has empowered me to do that for other people, and I think that's super cool. And like, because I teach kids between the ages of 6 and 18, so that's like such a vast group, like nothing like the people who are at Ravensbourne, but to be able to inspire these people at such a young age to follow their dreams and hopefully be doing something like what we're doing now is amazing. So I really enjoy it.
So I got a question though. So they're how old did you say? Sort of
between 6 and 18. 16
and 18. So, and then they would go to university maybe afterwards. Would you recommend them Ravensbourne?
Interesting. I think so.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like the thing is, it's a university. I don't think Ravensbourne's a problem. It's universities are a problem. It's like you're gonna. I don't think it's gonna. I think no matter where you go, there's gonna be problems like what we face because it's just in-house politics, right? It's just gonna be the same. I think it's probably one's better than others, but I also think they're all gonna have their fair share of problems.
I wouldn't personally, and we've actually had a question for the which we may as well bring up as Toby's kind of brought up now. We had a question using channel points in chat. If you're watching live, you can redeem a question using your channel points. Soren has asked, would you recommend Ravensbourne to someone looking to go back to college despite not knowing much about media production? I would find it difficult to recommend and also difficult to not recommend Ravensbourne because I believe almost everybody that I know that works there no longer works there anymore. And so I don't know. The building is good. The ideas behind the university are good. The
building itself looks really cool and there's great cameras inside it. So I mean, I guess so.
I probably would recommend it,
building.
but like it's really shallow. There's not much that's going into that recommendation. It's like my recommendation's more like, oh yeah, it's probably good, and that's kind of as far as I can go.
But I would say that if that kind of thing I would apply to any university. They kind of like to sell it. Certain universities are better than others, but really at the end of the day, it depends on you and what you take out of it.
Would I recommend it over other universities? if they're asking me, I don't know whether to apply to. I don't know. I'm considering going to. I know Bournemouth. That's a big one, right? I'm considering going to Bournemouth for film or Ravensbourne. I don't know which one to pick. Which one should I go to? Like, can you convince me to go to Ravensbourne? I'd probably say not really, because I don't know. They're probably as good as one another. I couldn't tell you which one's better.
Yeah, and you don't have an experience at Bournemouth, so like, how could you compare?
Yeah.
I'm so conflicted on this, right? Because I'm thinking about this, and on the one hand, there were so many things that as a university, I sort of go, oh wow, my degree is such a pointless piece of paper in my life, and it also depends on your attitude towards learning, because mine was very much like, oh, I just want to get the bit of paper, get the degree. I don't really care what grade I get, because for me, working in any creative industry, it's never going to matter what's on a bit of paper. It's always going to matter what my show reel looks like, what my, and what I'm putting out there creatively. So that was kind of where my brain was always at. So towards the end, I knew people who were cramming to get that first at uni. And I was just like, that's a lot of stress. I'm not doing that. And instead, I was working on the YouTube channel. That said, had I gone to a more academic film university, I might not have had the freedom to be able to work on the channel. And I think that's one of the things that Ravensbourne did quite well, is it did, people were off working on other projects and doing other stuff. And for me with the channel, Josh, we had our CGI special effects part unit, and I was working on the Pokemon channel, and I said, great, let's do a live action Pokemon trailer and put that on YouTube so I could make my hobby and what I was working on outside of uni tie into it.
Pokemon movie trailer to when, Toby? When is it going to happen?
I update the trailer every year, the title, to say that it's coming next year. I update the date every single year. So university-wise, like, it's provided a lot of opportunities, but then are those opportunities born out of the university didn't really do enough? And so I sort of had to go, well, I need to build something. I had the freedom to do it. It's a hard one.
So for me, I mean, it's kind of, it's similar and different, because my attitude going into university is that I was at school, college, I was a real teacher's pet, Like I was a real, I want the best grades I can possibly get. That was who I was. And so I'd be there in a lecture, seeing Toby in the corner of my eye playing Tetris. And I'd be like, that looks fun, but I'm really trying to concentrate on this thing that's boring me to tears. And I'm never going to use again. And unfortunately, and eventually, come the kind of third year of uni, Toby's influence had sort of reached me, where I'd gotten to the point where there's so many, it's like the evil devil on my, but no, because it ended up being a positive thing in that Toby's message wasn't don't bother trying. It was, if the topic that's being discussed isn't any use to you, but you've got other stuff that you can do that is useful to yourself, focus on that. And I'd started streaming. I mean, I started streaming before Toby started on his YouTube channel the first time around with Hearthstone. And so that's what I was doing. That's what I was putting all of my effort into. And it did get to the point where, instead of wasting time learning on the science behind certain TV signals and how they work the way they work, I should be like working on special events for my stream and stuff like that. And it ended up being the correct thing to do. While I
skip unnecessary lectures to, but only if you knew, I don't need to spend 2 hours of my life looking at a PowerPoint presentation to do with this thing, when you could spend it equally editing a video for a YouTube channel or producing something for a Twitch stream. And I think that was, it wasn't the attitude of don't try. It was the attitude of,
and that's the thing. And I didn't skip I never skipped a lecture at college at all, ever. Like that wasn't me. And I didn't my first couple of years at university either, apart from if I was extremely ill. But then it kind of got to the point in the third year where I was like, maybe my time is better spent doing this other thing.
And do you know what's even worse in regards to that? Because it wasn't just limited to you guys. There was people who we would probably see as being the film kids, as it were, who were on that course also doing the same thing as you were doing. So it's like, they really missed the mark in regards to that. And that's one thing I will definitely call them out on, because they were not just not interested in you guys, but the people who we saw as being the ones who were probably should be interested in it weren't interested in it either. So
in terms of the lectures that we had that actually help me now in my sort of quote unquote career, I mean, I could probably count them on one hand. Video editing ones where I learned how to use Adobe After Effects. I use After Effects most days now.
You should have gone on
It's
a post-prod course.
For me, it's vital. Maybe I should have done. Yeah. Well, the thing is, going into it, I didn't know what I wanted to specialize in. The whole point of this degree, digital film production, is that there's some editing, there's some filming, there's some lighting, there's some directing, there's some producing. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and this course sort of taught me, yeah, I don't want to do these things. I don't want to stand behind a camera trying to get the lighting perfect. I hate that. And that's kind of what I learned from it. And then it got to the point where yeah, I realized that this course isn't going to help me that much. I don't want to work in this industry.
There was a real kind of pack of starter classes where it's like, okay, this is what focus, and this is what the focus ring is, and this is why ISO is
That's helpful.
not as cool as you think it is, and this is why shutter speed should be double your
Frame rate,
your
yeah.
frame rate, and and then you'd get to the end of that class and you're like, wow, what a really good 2 hours, and then later on they would go, so this is a focus ring. Yeah, we know that one. We got that. Oh, okay. Well, edit something. Go.
Yeah, I do feel like it was not focused enough, ironically enough. But because I think it's one of the weak points, because as it tried to appeal to everyone, it didn't appeal to anyone.
Yes. Yeah. And again, I probably shouldn't have been accepted to the course. I didn't know enough going in. And
But then,
is that on me for not knowing enough, or on them for accepting me and then not making an effort to catch me up? Like, maybe I should have done a foundation degree first, where I learned more of the basics, and so I had better knowledge going into it. I don't know.
What do you have to say about it, Dieter? You were...
I was thinking obviously, a lot of I didn't do your course, but you just talking about like an umbrella of different things that everyone might be interested in.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking if they were more specialists, I don't know what they'd obviously there'd be like some sort of education board or something that'd have to write through that, and maybe it was just easier just to have the basic umbrella stuff.
You know what would have been better? It would have been better surely if the first year or even the first half a year you learn everything, and then it gets you to specialize, and they split you into groups, and each group has different lectures.
They did do that eventually, didn't they? But it wasn't until third year did you get to specialize.
Yeah, but that was just because you had to make your own final major projects, and they were like, right, okay, but it would be good. It would have been good for me if by the second year it was like, okay, all of my lectures now on editing, and when I've got to make something, they will put me with a cameraman, with a director, and they've had their lectures about their thing. They've had their lectures about their thing. Anyways, for my job, my actual job as a host, as an esports commentator, I don't believe that the course helped me much at all. I think the experience of moving away, doing university and that kind of thing, I think that built my character. It built me as a person. But I don't believe that the course itself helped my career at all. And now, the piece of paper, which I have never used when applying for anything, by the way, I've never shown my degree to anyone. I believe that the experience I have as a commentator, traveling all over the world, commentating on events for companies like Blizzard and Supercell, etc., I believe that will be worth more to anyone for any job I want to apply for than my degree will be.
Yeah.
Where is your degree now?
I don't even know.
Mine's literally just in the next room. It's like it's just been sitting on this table for 2 years.
Mum said to me when we got it, she said, "Do you not want to frame it?"
I framed mine.
No, Mum. I got this on my wall. This is what I've been working on while I was at uni.
That's a YouTube silver play button for anyone listening.
For anyone who doesn't, that's what I've been working on. This is what I'm gonna hang. This is cool. This is, and again, I think, well, obviously the physical play button itself, whatever, but the actually, there's a channel. That's what gets me in the door with clients. That's what gets me in the door in the world of working. And hopefully, if I ever move on to some other creative project, the fact that the channel's there is kind of like a selling point, if you like, which is nice.
But
there's this body of work on it.
But I think that's a greater issue with universities in general, which I think one of you guys brought up earlier. Was it Josh? You said that earlier. The point is, university. When I was at school, I was sort of taught, by the time you guys at university, you're all going to go to university, and you're all going to do this, and this is it's just the done thing now. It's not like 10 years earlier, where not everybody, where very few, a low percentage of people went on to university. It was only if you were really passionate about something. We were kind of at the age where everyone's encouraged to go to university. It was just the done thing, and if I had, thinking back, if I had not bothered going to university, I stayed at home and started streaming and started building my stream then and did it full time, I would probably be a very big streamer now. Having had all of that extra time.
To counteract that, depending on your situation, maybe you need that experience of through that to get to where you are now to be able to do that. Because, like, for me, I grew up in a little country village in the middle of Cambridgeshire, completely isolated from everything and anything. No internet. Like, I had internet, but not good internet. Like, it took my move to London to really go, I can actually do what I want to do and be surrounded by
and it's impossible to kind of assess that, isn't it? It's really impossible to compare. But like, and I think the other thing is, imagine, right? I finish college and I decide I'm gonna play a video game online, looking into a camera, talking into a camera. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter how amazing my parents are. They're not gonna let me do that. They'd have to be out of their minds to let me do that without having any sort of deeper understanding of what that's all about. Whereas me having my space off at university, where I was working on my lectures, and then in the evening I'd stream every evening. I was building that up myself, and so by the time I moved home after uni, I was producing money and like getting Hearthstone casting jobs, and I was able to say, "Yeah, look, real money." And it's like, sadly, that's the way the world works. When people see money, they're like, "Oh, that legitimizes it."
I was genuinely, there was a part of my brain that considered I should, now I've done all the work for it, flunk the final year because I can get an extra year of student finance, and that's another year that I could keep working on the channel and not have to get a job. That was a thought. That was a thought about like game the system like that.
Imagine, let's get in another £10,000 of debt so I don't have to move home right now.
Real debt, not real debt.
It is. It's real debt if you're successful enough to pay it back, which I hope
yes,
to.
Absolutely. It's one of those things that with university, it very quickly became to me about halfway through the second year. This isn't about the course. This is about the time that I get to spend living in London, meeting other creatives and other people. And I definitely don't think I would be... I'd probably still be doing BirdKeeperToby. It would probably be very different, though. And there's certain milestones in the channel that wouldn't have been hit at the same time or in the same way. Certain videos that I was able to borrow a C300 or whatever it was out of the university's locker to film something. Or there was like even our final major project. Put a lot of effort into my final major project, working with another creative, another YouTuber who I met at university. So there's definitely, it wouldn't have been the same, but it might still be around. Could be bigger, could be smaller. I don't know.
I mean, like, I kind of like echo the same thing as what Toby says. I do feel like I think I would still be streaming in some capacity, no matter what. Because like, before I came on here today, I was going back through my plethora of different projects of playing video games online, because they all still exist out there if you look hard enough. And I like to rewatch them for comedic value every now and then. Pal Gamers, thank you, Dieter.
I remember
exactly, Toby knows.
Still my heart.
And there's ones before Power Gamers as well, which you don't even know about. Like, there's a lot of video game Josh history. I'll send you links. But like, but I feel like I would still be here. And it's actually quite funny because I was thinking about this earlier, because I went to college with Kenichi, and it's funny because we only really started talking again recently. And now she's been on the podcast with you guys. So I wonder if I didn't come to Ravensbourne, I would still ended up meeting you guys through Kenichi, through this weird, like, alternative universe.
I mean, it's possible, but Kenichi actually discovered us through you. But, like, you never know. Like, with the internet's a big place.
You don't know. Yeah.
Now,
I was just saying,
a friend just messaged me just a second ago saying, "Oh, you're on a podcast with BirdKeeperToby. I love him." Like, just like one of my friends from college. So it was just like, yeah.
Great.
So.
Now, I want to. We're actually starting to run a little low on time. We'll go a little bit over because of the delay starting. But I want to get into specific stories now. And I'm going to talk about my own, and I want to talk about Toby's. And this is where I fear that certain members of the university were not behind this idea of futuristic media, or at least claimed to be, but didn't like to follow up on that. For me, when it was final major project time, I was at a bit of a loss of what to do, because I knew I didn't want to do film stuff, and I was putting so much effort into streaming. I was sort of back then doing similar to what I'm doing now, where I was putting on shows each week. I had a podcast every week, and I had a weekly show match every week, which had fully animated graphics that I'd made in After Effects and all of this crazy stuff. And wait, Dieter, have you frozen or are you just sitting very still? Oh, that's amazing.
No, I'm looking up at you.
He's statuesque.
Right, sorry. And I wanted to, and I worked really hard on my stream, like I do now, kind of. But and I decided for my final major product, would it be cool if I could, instead of being, and for our final major product, by the way, the brief was we had to do anything basically film-wise. We had to just make a short film of some description. It could be on anything. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if for my final major product, I made like a short film documentary about my stream and what goes into it? And wouldn't it be cool if I was assessed in terms of what I do for the stream, not for the quality of the documentary? So the documentary was just literally a case of, this is what I do, this is what I do, this is what this is the result, that kind of thing. And I was hoping they would then judge that based on the quality of the live stream that I put out. But Johnny, good old Johnny, he's not. Now, I want to point out, other lecturers liked the idea. They thought it was unique. They thought it was different. They thought it was actually exactly what our university is about, pushing these boundaries. But Johnny basically didn't allow it. And after arguing with him and then talking to other lecturers and getting their feedback and twisting it, what I ended up putting out there was sort of like that, but I was judged on the quality of the documentary. And I hear that Johnny wanted to give me a really bad grade, and that my other lecturers really argued about, apparently out of all of our final major products in our year, mine was the most divisive upon the people that were judging it. In that Johnny wanted to give me a really bad score, and the other lecturers managed to push it up.
That doesn't surprise me at all, because I remember straight after this whole situation happened, after we got our grades back, because at the time I was working in a popular coffee shop, and one of our lecturers walked in, and we had a nice conversation about Pokemon Go, and I was like, thank you for, because I really liked this one, I was like, you've worked really hard, thank you so much, and he was just like, he was ashamed by what happened.
Really?
Like, he was like, literally straight up said, oh, I'm really sorry. He's like, I don't deserve any of that. He's like, that whole thing has been a complete, mess.
How so?
Yeah, I think we need some context for this.
Yeah.
Well, in regards to the grades, because he just felt like everyone was graded badly and didn't represent. And I know he must have been referring to myself in that situation, and hearing what you've just said, it's like, well, obviously he was definitely referring to you as well. Because I'm sure that the guy I'm referring to was definitely fighting your corner, because he's one of the good ones. Yeah. And it's just it's like all the lecturers knew. And this is because obviously after we graduated, majority of the lecturers at the uni left. Yeah.
I think. Oh, go on.
Well, I wanted to get into your story next, Toby, because yours is a little bit differently. So Toby's final major project was 3 YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, I said I'll put out 3 webisodes, make it sound official, of
because YouTube video doesn't sound official, but okay.
Yeah, it didn't feel official enough. All right, so we'll do 3 webisodes, covering about 30 minutes of content. We're going to do 1 comedy animation, which YouTube never saw, by the way. I didn't like, and I'll never release it, I didn't like the humor, and the humor did not land. If anything, it came off really creepy. But an animation, which I was directing. Yeah, I guess I was directing that because I didn't animate it, obviously. And then 2 educational videos on science of video games, aka Pokemon. So I did, if Metapod was real, how would it kill you by falling from a tree? And I did this one, Evolution 101, which to this day is one of the best videos on the channel. And that one did all right. They all did all right collectively. And I think I had big help from my friend Amy Right Meow, who is a YouTuber who has, I think, a much bigger following than me, who at the time didn't have a YouTube channel, but was in the year above us at Ravensbourne, who had finished animation, had got her first, and I said, right, I'll commission her. Right. Mates rates. Thank you. She was lovely. And so she did some animation for that project. And it was probably more in her favor that I got a good grade than it is mine. So Amy, you're a sweetheart. Thank you.
But yeah, luckily you were allowed to do your 3 YouTube videos.
And I was allowed.
As your major project.
I think in the lingo, when we were at uni, Twitch Twitch plays Pokemon. It's new. What's that about? YouTube, we've had a while to digest it. And yeah,
Well,
we're a
what I
large
was told
community, we
by
can do
Johnny
YouTube.
himself was the reason he was saying no is because it's not film, it's television.
It's
That was and that was
okay.
that was the way that he dismissed it. It's not
Okay.
what you're doing live on Twitch. That is not film. That is television. And apparently, of course, isn't television. Apparently, it's
not
everything
bizarre.
else,
It is.
just not TV.
Definitely not live TV.
But now, Toby, I need to hear because you got one more story about Johnny.
Yeah, I got it. So this lecturer, I knew he wasn't fond of our group, and our group definitely stood out as this, kind of quirky, still trying to find ourselves. Everyone else seems to be far more confident and knows how to wield an Alexa camera or Area Alexa or whatever they're called. I don't know.
We should have had a Netflix original show about us.
Absolutely. we were the weird lot. And I knew that there was some disdain towards us. But I thought, okay, whatever, I'm at uni. Never got to deal with this lecturer again. He's fine. He's just, I don't know, weird guy, whatever. And I then knew some people who were still Ravensbourne students mentioned to me at a party, I think you came up in lecture. Yeah. He definitely used the word something to the effect of, oh, last year we had this Pokemon YouTube, not very nice word. I can't remember what the word was. And I went,
Oh God.
what? Why? Leave me alone. Who are you? Who are you? You fossil.
Is that jealousy?
Right. I don't know what that was.
Maybe.
So I...
So jealous of their friends that work in porn.
I, in a baby rage fit of, do you know what? Go do it. I just sent him a message saying, oh,
Oh, you
that
messaged him
word.
about it?
I sent him a message, on Facebook. Oh, that word. I can't remember what the word was, but that's funny.
It was a
We
swear
used to
word of
use-
some description. Like.
Yeah, and I said something to the effect of, we used to say much worse things about you when you weren't around, and then I just blocked him. And then those same students came back to me and said that he had talked about that interaction with the class and said, now here's the thing. The industry is about who you know, and, I've now... that's someone. He's someone who will never back me out there in the industry. I've made a powerful enemy. Probably he didn't say
That's
that. I'm
real
being,
beef.
Facetious. But I kind of just thought, well, that's fine. I'll get to wherever it is I'm going. I've got no goals. Hollywood specific or BBC specific or
Porn
even
specific.
internet specific.
Yeah,
Or porn specific. I got nothing in particular I'm going for. I'll get to where I'm going, and I guess I'll just have to do it without you. Woe is me. Good luck to you. And that's just kind of the end of it. But it was just such a weird thing. And I don't know what that's about. And, for all I know, he's having the worst day of his life. Whatever. Good luck to him.
I think he's in chat.
Don't care. I don't
Yeah, imagine.
Is that
Johnny!
Johnny Bravo?
Johnny, bravo!
I just don't understand what runs through your head when you badmouth former students, and
No, I
then because they retaliate, you denounce that you're ever going to help them and ever get
It's
I don't know,
petty, isn't it? It's childish.
Now, again, when it comes to the nice
he's not a young
lecturers,
guy
like-
either. He's he's a
No.
mature guy.
Which I think, and one of the things they constantly said about, the creative industries, and I think this is true of wherever you are, is it is a bit about how you know who you know, and word gets around, how are they to work with, and that kind of thing. And you would think for someone trying to inspire, and I'm sure he was just trying to tell one of his many cool and funny stories about how he's so relatable. I'm sure that was probably what it was. But it's just like, that's the stuff that gets around. And, again, if this podcast goes around and he manages to get us on some kind of industry blacklist or whatever, so be it. Whatever. I'm sure he won't. Whatever.
Johnny
know,
Bravo.
It's just disappointing. It's just disappointing. But he
disappointing.
had that attitude.
And again, we had fantastic lecturers, some of whom have had the opportunity to, see again and work with in a very kind of casual sense. Since other universities, and I think there were some great people there. There really were. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Johnny was not, and that's
Not Johnny.
Yeah.
Not
So I guess in conclusion about university is that I for me is that I think that university, if you're doing a creative subject, you need to really think hard about what you're doing. Because obviously, if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or or anything like that, obviously going to university and studying your degrees in chemistry or whatever is vital. But I think if what you're doing is creative, we're kind of reaching a stage where a lot of what people learn is self-taught, and maybe that's more productive for some people, and maybe the piece of paper doesn't matter so much. I don't know what you guys feel about that.
Well, the thing is,
I
like,
think-
because
sorry.
music, just taking it back to some music,
Yeah.
like, in my school, there was actually a studio, and I found this out, and I lost all interest with, like, other subjects, and just was in there every day, just trying to, like, get a sound going.
Uh-huh.
And then, so I spent all this time, and then we came to, like, uni, and then started doing some, like, basic stuff again, but I found, like, most of the stuff that I learned was definitely down to just me putting in the time, and really getting to know the equipment and stuff like that. Which, yeah, I think thing is, but, like, I suppose university, and I found this especially difficult with, like, the dissertation and stuff like that, is I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, I don't learn like that, and I don't work like that. But, like, with the the final project, I was like, all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I can do this. So the worst thing I ever did at uni was my dissertation, which I think I barely passed. And then
I remember hearing stories about your dissertation from Connor, actually.
Oh my god, I remember the all-nighter the day before it was due, just drinking coffee. But, like, I just couldn't do it. I can't type like that. It's just
the
not
thing
something
is,
I'm good at.
when you're really passionate about something, I think that is when you're most likely to. When you're really truly passionate about something at a young age, I think that is when you're most likely to actually succeed at that thing as you grow older, as long as you cultivate and develop that passion. But I think a lot of people pick a degree and go to university nowadays because they're kind of interested in it. Yeah, I might like to do that, but it's not like a true passion. And I think with a creative subject, with a passion like this, take video editing, for example. I could spend all day, every day working on it, watching YouTube tutorials, learning more things, improving, even learning how to do it properly. I could do that. Whereas going to a university, yes, I'd get the piece of paper at the end, but I'd have to go through lectures explaining the theory behind this and the history behind this and stuff that isn't necessarily relevant to what I would want to do. And I just think if you're truly passionate about something, pursue that passion. Don't let anyone stop you. And I think it's difficult at a young age. Again, convincing your parents is maybe the hard part. But people and parents need to learn that, like, if a child is dedicated to doing something, let them do it. Let them go out and do it. Make sure they are working, and you don't just go into the room and find them lying in bed playing video games all day. But, like,
Unless you're streaming, then that's fine.
Yeah, streaming.
I mean, you shouldn't really be lying in bed streaming. Just say. But I think people need to learn when they're at the age to go to university that they can use their own passion and push for it themselves without feeling like they have to go to a university.
But to counterpoint you, I think the problem is that universities need to fuck up their ideas, really.
Sure, I'm sure. Yeah.
Is that university needs to be this thing which will empower people, and I feel like the best times I had at uni were that, but I don't feel like they were ever given to me by my courses, just by the university itself. Like, for instance, I ran the Movie Anime Game Society, Mags. I hope they're still doing well. And like, I love. Sorry.
Is that still? I might look that up later.
I don't know.
Hey, me and Ideal Nettles won the Halo 3 tournament that you had at Mags.
About that. Yeah.
Shout out to Ideal Nettles in chat.
But like stuff like that, to me, being a part of a community or being able to like cultivate a community really set me up for what I'm doing now with Concrete Donkey.
Yeah.
Because like I think that like taught me a lot of skills which I bring to Concrete Donkey and like to the Discord and stuff like that. And I think that's really, really important. And that taught me that. I learned that from being at uni, but just not through my course.
It's a funny
like,
thing.
Yeah, I
Mags
agree with that
seems-
sentiment.
Yeah,
Max seems like the Concrete Donkey before Concrete Donkey, because
Well,
that's
he
how we
was.
started. That's how we got so close to begin with. Because
Exactly.
I think was you were sort of I can't remember. I said I was helping run it, but I did nothing.
So
I tried.
Well,
So what you're saying is that it's not about the course. It's not about what you learned at university. It's about the friends you made along the way.
along the way, yes.
That's exactly what it is.
Great
There we
notes.
go.
early
Nailed
on.
it.
Yes, entirely.
Some expensive friends.
But it's very but But I would argue that you guys are my closest friends.
And
like,
you're worth every penny.
Yeah, priceless, they would say.
Yeah.
Friendship is magic.
It's always like it's came back round to two geeks again with MLP. Like, we can tie us all together.
But yeah, so maybe that's the conclusion, is that while none of us necessarily feel that the content of our course helped us with our careers in any way moving forwards, the other thing, the experience of university, living alone.
Yeah.
Toby and I lived with our friends Helena and Sophie for a while, and that was an experience. We learned a lot about living with other people, and good ways to act and mistakes that you can make doing that. Socially,
I lived with Ed, and Ed who was here a second, like at the beginning. I lived with him since I moved to university. I still live with him now. I mean, I don't know how he feels about me now after he was like, I'm on a podcast.
I think socially living away from your parents and sort of learning, when it's acceptable to stay up at night, when it's when you should really go to sleep. Like you have to learn that yourself. And like when with Josh, we'd all hang out at our friend Joe's house or something, and we'd all play board games. And how often should we do that? Until it gets in the way of our studies and our projects and that kind of thing. And I think the self-learning part of university is huge, and the social aspect is huge. I just think for us, the content matter wasn't, and if only there was a way of, for future generations, cultivating that social aspect, the forced kind of thing, whilst letting them get on with their own projects, whilst not putting them in like £40,000 worth of debt or whatever it is, 50,000, I don't know.
But that middle ground is what people need to reach, and I don't have the answers. I can't give people like a proper answer to that, but that's what people need to be aiming for, because that's what people need. People need the support, the financial support to follow their goals, and they're and essentially, and having like support circle of like some nice lecturers and a nice friend group to be able to do that. And like, I think that's what university gave me for sure. But,
well, frankly, it's not your job to come up with the answer, Josh. It's the government's, and they can't even enforce everyone having to wear a mask without having a 10-day of build up. So I don't know what to.
We have to wait for that patch release. God damn.
Dude, keep it down. Boris is just in the next room.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Can you like punch him in the throat for me?
No. Let's go back on that one.
Was that too much? Okay, sorry.
Does anyone have any sort of other things they want to say about this topic, or shall I go through the questions? We've got some questions in the chat.
That's it. Let's go for questions.
We should go for questions. Yeah.
It seemed like you wanted to add something a moment ago. I don't want to.
I was thinking like maybe. I think this is a entirely different topic, but I was just thinking like learning and stuff like that. I think definitely needs like an overhaul, like education in general.
Yeah.
Because personally, I struggled a lot with learning, purely because everything I wanted to do was very sort of just get out there and do it rather than study it.
Right.
So this is the weird thing about Ravensbourne is that their pitch to us was that's the whole point.
I would argue that Ravensbourne probably is a lot more ahead of the curve than other universities.
Maybe. Well, we don't have experience with other
scary.
universities. So.
But society and the way that we learn stuff, the way we engage with not only each other and learning, but media as well, it's moving so fast. And it's these institutions, I hate to say it, yet see that's the job. You want students to keep coming, you give us a reason to apply.
But then is the government also partly to blame? Because I feel like every course would I doubt they could just change the course up like with a month's notice. They'd probably have to go through obviously all the grades and stuff.
But
so
it's even just silly things like when Toby was saying that he had to call his YouTube videos webisodes.
Right.
Who said webisode? Sorry, who said webisode in the last 50 years? Do you know what I mean? Only Johnny's gonna be calling it a webisode, and that's the problem. It's like we're stuck in their ways.
How many professional YouTubers are there nowadays? Quite a lot. Actually, an awful lot.
No, what I will say, I mean, I know for a fact they've got some good lecturers there now. Not lecturing there when we were there, but we had Chris Bingham, who was who came in for some guest lectures. He, as far as I know, he still works there. Okay. And I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed his lectures. He knows all about YouTube, and he's really quite fantastic with that stuff. So I'm pretty sure he's still there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know. So we had a brief conversation with about this on stream yesterday, Toby. As far as educational overhaul goes, like When are they gonna start teaching internet safety? Like when is that actually
Yeah.
going to be an actual topic at school, a subject? It should be,
But
right?
But
Because
thinking like, I was just thinking back to like when I was a teenager on the internet. Like it was awful. Like you were 2 clicks away from like, I don't know, horrific death or just this bizarre porn.
yeah.
It's like it was, you stumble off it like.
And the thing is nowadays the problem is with generation older than us. Like, how the heck do they raise children that are in this internet age obsessed with it without understanding it? And the problem is the reason it becomes a government, like a fundamental problem, is that the people that are in charge of the BBC and stuff like that, yeah, they might do a TV program on internet safety, but it would be so behind the curve. It would be so something that I think at our age would consider wrong. The information they're saying, it would be so derivative and it would be so dismissive about the internet in general. Well, just keep your children away from it. But like, whereas I think we would probably know better. We'd be like, yeah, okay, just keep an eye on what they're doing, encourage the use of websites like this, discourage and that kind of thing. But the thing is, the reason the problem gets to its real core is because, okay, it's the BBC, for example, putting this thing out where it teaches people, but like they don't want people to get their news on the internet like we do. They want people to continue using the BBC, so everything is going to be framed in such a way.
Corporation, not the British Web Corporation or whatever.
Whereas give it 20 years when our generation is sort of running the world, I think things are going to be very, very different there, and we will be encouraging.
But even then, we'll probably be
Well,
behind. The,
maybe we will,
be
yeah.
I was
behind.
about to say, but there'll
It's
be a
that
whole
thing of-
host of new issues.
It's that weird clash of attitudes where you've got people going, well, you know, that YouTube, that internet, it's the new thing, isn't it? And then there's us going, it's not really new anymore, is it? We're on iteration 12 at this point. Yeah, it's not the new thing. Oh, well, sounds all very fancy smanchy. Like, what?
Right, I'm going to run through some questions because Toby's got Community Raid Hour in just over 10 minutes. So
Oh god.
we've had Sorens. So Fruit asked, how did pre-Ravensbourne YouTube endeavors, i.e. Two Geeks, affect you getting into Ravensbourne and your performance at the school? So Dita, I feel like you've already answered that with your sort of music production, how they just
Yeah.
like, yeah, come on in, and that's how it helped you with that. Josh, what are you with pre-Ravensbourne?
Well, I was, well, maybe surprising or not surprising, doing very much like what you two were doing. I had a little film crew, we called ourselves, where we made short films and comedy sketches, and like, I showed those to the lecturer on the interview, and that's one of the main reasons I think it is the reason I got in, that and my ability to chat rubbish about Edgar Wright.
Right.
But like, yeah, so I do think that kind of stuff does help, and more importantly, I think it shows initiative. You know, that if we're going into an interview for a uni or job or whatever, if you've done something for your own back, that stands out more than a school project or something like that. So yeah, I mean, you should always follow your passions in whatever you're doing. So.
I mean, I think for me and Toby, we can say that our YouTube endeavors, Toby's vlog channel, by the time he got in, I think, and Two Geeks, are other reasons that we got in. Really, there wasn't that much else that we had going for us. I don't know if you agree with that, Toby.
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty much that was the thing to show off. I had a couple bits that I had made while I was at university, and again, but I wouldn't know how to make those things if it wasn't for Two Geeks. So it really all does start with that first time we, made a video at your house and that kind of thing, and that's how, and just going, all right, we'll make something. Interestingly, I did a talk at a college, our local college last year, and a lot of the students, I was like, well, what videos are you making? And they're like, well, we've not really made anything yet. And it's like, you're in college. Right. Who knows a joke? Cool. That's a comedy sketch. You're now going to film it. I don't care how it looks. I don't care what the set looked like. I don't care if it's bad. We're going to film it right now on your phone. You're going to edit it together. In an hour, you'll have made something. But, you've got to make something to show. Otherwise, what are you...
An example of the fact that any line, any stupid joke can be a film. Do you remember Stalking, Toby?
I remember Stalking. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can
Is that
see
context?
Yeah, okay, I can see that. TK pops in the chat, so that's Phoebe, who we made it with as well. It's a film about a plant. What did you stalk the plant? That's
no, the plant stalked me.
Stalks you,
I
that's it.
think I was walking around, going about my business, and the plant stalks me right up to my room. Now, and is the punchline?
Why don't you leave me alone?
What? Just leave me alone. It's got to leave.
And, but that shot though was great because we did like we had the flower on the end of like a vacuum cleaner or something, so we were like carrying it around, had the camera here, so it looked like the flower was like following you down the hallway and stuff. But it's just an example. We did that. It was all based around the pun of the stalk of the flower and the bad pun at the end. It was really stupid, but it was really good fun to make. And thank you.
You just filmed something, and it's another notch under your belt in the hopefully thousands of things that you'll make in your life, right?
Yeah.
And but that's that kind of stuff, like, because that's what's going to stand out, because you're doing stuff of your own back, you're making up your own content, you're being imaginative, being creative. Whether it's cheesy or not, that's besides the point, and people like that kind of thing anyways. So.
Right, I want to keep running through these questions because there's a few more that's coming up, and
yes.
I'm gonna stop redemptions now, so there's not gonna be any new ones coming in. Jay has asked, you all talked about university and some negatives, but given the chance, would you do anything differently? Would anybody like to jump to answer that one?
I don't think I would. I
Really?
think everything, all the pain and the suffering was important for me to be where I am now. Like, anything, and I also think there was a lot of positives I learned from that. Granted, maybe not from the course, but from the uni experience in general. But I feel like I had to go through that to get to where I am now, really.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just say I feel like uni was like one of the best things that happened to me purely because first year I wasn't coming to classes. I was like extremely socially anxious. I didn't want to talk to anyone. And then as soon as I started opening up, like I think Connor's in the chat. I started talking to Connor, joining like mags and stuff, and just really getting to knowing people. I just became like a totally different person, and I like feel so much better for it. So I wouldn't even change anything. Like it was such a good learning experience, despite getting a bit of paper that doesn't really help a lot.
Can I quickly interject? Dita, would you say that the mag experience helped push you towards concrete, like wanting to do like content like concrete?
I wouldn't be doing streaming or like anything like this if it wasn't for. I mean, possibly music streams, but no, I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for that.
For me, I find it difficult to answer the question because my gut wants to say, yeah, I would have done a foundation degree. I would have learned a little bit more about film before throwing myself in the deep end. Or I would have skipped uni entirely. But again, the social experience was so vital. And like if I held back a year, I wouldn't have met the people I would have met and done. So I guess really I'm happy with where I am. So I guess I wouldn't have done stuff differently. But at the same time, if it wouldn't have affected the good, like I would have liked to have had more knowledge going into it and that kind of thing. How about you, Toby?
I find it hard to kind of sit here and say, I regret going or anything like that. I don't know. I think without it, BirdKeeperToby would be a very different kind of channel, and I don't know that it would be as nice a looking a channel in terms of quality. I definitely wouldn't know the same people. I was at university, and as so many do, I had a big relationship while I was there, and that was like the first big relationship. That stuff's important to developing as a person. Like you say, living away, getting the opportunity to live with you as well, Dan. I mean, like that was another reason I said, oh, you know what, you're going to Ravensbourne. I'm not sure I'm happy on my course where I'm at Kingston. Okay, I'll come Ravensbourne.
Yeah, I didn't have
then we get to live together.
I didn't really have much of a say in that.
2 geeks at university not happen.
It almost did. It almost did.
God.
Right, I'm going to move on to the next question because I've still got 2 more I want to get through, and obviously Toby's going to be in a bit of a hurry soon. So Kenichi asked, obviously you said the course wasn't necessarily aimed at the career paths you aimed to take. Is there anything you've learned as content creators that you would suggest for up-and-coming content creators that you didn't learn at university? I feel like
loads of things.
Yeah, I feel like Toby, you're probably the best person to answer this one, actually.
And yet I'm the most stuck on it. So do you want to ask the next question and then come back to it?
Well, does anyone else, if anyone else would like to comment on this, what have you learned as a content creator that you didn't learn at uni?
I think for me, anyways, it's down to community, and that's something which you can't. For me, like personally speaking, I didn't realize how powerful the ability of reaching out to people can be. And that is only something I discovered through making films which resonated with people. But that's not something uni taught me. That's just an experience I got through myself, and I think that is such a powerful experience, and that's super strong. And the main reason why I like to make content is to have and build that sense of community and bring people together, and that's just amazing. And I wish people taught that kind of thing at uni. Like, how do you manage a community? How do you keep people invested? And help people like that. I feel like that's important, especially in this internet day and age where everything is built around communities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you pretty much agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just completely on board with that. Yeah.
Cool.
I think when it comes to university, the advice that you kind of get, like, there's this vibe that there's filmmakers, there's Hollywood, there's there's indie films, and there's a Hollywood, and it's like a one-track path. And I think the difference when it comes to online stuff is that there is a pocket for everyone, and content creation is what you make it. And it's I'm making videos about Pokemon on YouTube. That space does not exist in traditional media. It exists here, and there are niches upon niches that is, I think, legitimate content. There's slime content. Even that's dated now. There's you got TikTok. There's content out there, and it's all valid. You don't need to compare yourself to other people, and I think that's the beauty of what the internet has to offer as a platform, or as a host of platforms that maybe traditional media doesn't. And,
there's a home for everyone.
Is that advice? I don't know. It's a thought.
I think it is advice because it says that no matter what you're into, whatever you want to make, there is a place for it, and that is something which they don't say at university, because in our course anyways, because they want to push you to go to Hollywood because that sounds great for them. Because at the end of the day, a university is a business, and they want to be able to say their students.
They want the alumni, the famous right. Anyways, final question.
They have David Bowie on there. He was only there for like a couple of days, and then they were just like, on the list. And it's like
Bowie in it.
The final question is for Dieter, and it's from CD Kazman. Dieter,
George,
how do you get your luscious locks so silky smooth? The golden radiance reaches through my monitor and touches me in ways I never knew possible. What is your secret?
Well, my secret is when you wash your hair, you get in the shower, get wash hair. Listen to Bob Ross, just have it on in the background. I personally have a plasma monitor in the corner, and it's waterproof, which is great. And I just sit there and wash it. And as I'm washing my hair, all I'm thinking is yellow ochre, titanium white, all of these different colors, and it just bleeds through into the locks, getting the shine and the color.
Do you have to have a shower curtain between you and the screen, or do you just? Is it just open?
No, it's just open.
Well, there you go. That is the secret. But now that is going to be the end of the podcast. So finally, it is time for everyone to promote yourselves. Toby, where are you going to be straight after this?
I'm going to be on twitch.tv/BirdKeeperToby. And if you want to find me on any social platform, BirdKeeperToby is the thing to look up. And if I'm on that platform, you'll find it.
Josh?
Well, it's a group plug.
Yeah, hello. You're over here. Hey.
Wait, where are you? Hang on, I'm looking at the... You're there. Okay, cool. Perfect.
No, other side. Josh, you got the wrong side.
Oh, wait. No, this
no.
side.
There you go.
Okay, Toby's running out of time. We need to put
Concrete Donkey. We will be streaming just after this. We're going to be playing some Worms. We'll have George with us, who's the third member of Concrete Donkey. We're going to be playing that for a while, and then after that, we're going to be playing some... Well, George is going to be playing The Witcher.
George is playing Witches Wednesdays, man.
Yeah, can we get some links spammed in chat, please, for our wonderful guests? If there's any mod around able to do that. But I, of course, I'm your host, Falcone. I'm live every week. What do I do again? I'm live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays on Twitch. This has been the Podcone, the Falcone podcast. It's live 3:30 p.m. every Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. BST. But you can listen on demand on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and anything else like that. So if you're listening on demand and want to watch live, twitch.tv/Falcone hosts, Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. British Summertime. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.